This podcast is sponsored by Cocatel Collective, a strategic sales and marketing firm representing a highly curated portfolio of emerging beverage brands from non-alcoholic wine and spirits all over the world, such as Apolog Liquors, Kuro Distillery, Madre Mezcal, Norden Aquavie, Reinhold Distillery, Something and Nothing, and West 32 Soju.
Welcome to this episode of End Process Podcast. Today's guest is a 2023 James Beard Awards semifinalist for Best Chef. He is the executive chef and owner of one of Chicago's gems, Wazwan, and of course, the tasting menu at the Coach House by Wazwan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a good friend of ours, ZUBAIR MOHAJIR.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
How's your day so far?
Day's been great. You know, the usual biting off more than we can chew every day, only to survive it, and that's what keeps us alive, right? So, yeah, we're kind of making a move to open up casual Wazwan kind of satellite locations in universities.
Wow,
So,
I saw that.
went to receive equipment this morning.
Wow.
You know, so it's cool. It's UIC is the next location we're opening up in, and
Oh, yeah.
Do you have one already?
yeah, University of Chicago was the first
that
one.
was the one
yeah,
you were mentioning.
that was in March, and it was just I know you asked me how this happened, but it was just kind of wild. It was last year during Ramadan, which is our religious kind of month for Muslims. They just I guess they wanted to do like a chef takeover, and they realized there's not a lot of Muslim chefs in general, right? And not only that, it's just our community has been, growing in the sense like you have your Indian and your Pakistani restaurants, but they're very, very family style. It's a South Asian kind of vibe of like nobody gives a shit about service. It's just, you go there, you eat biryani, you eat some really slamming food, and thanks, have a great day. It never happens. It's just like, all right, are you gonna pay and go or what? So it's just when they found me online, they were like, for Wazwan at least, we've always should kind of shy away from. I always say I'm not anti butter chicken, but like we're way better. There's so much more to Indian cuisine than butter chicken. And fuck the British is a big theme in Wazwan. So things like that. So it's just
a similar thing here.
So basically we've always
we
done.
won't talk about
that. So yeah, basically we just did a lot of different things. So they reached out to do like a Ramadan takeover, and the morning of that takeover, I just wake up to like a bunch of phone calls from the university, and they're just freaking out. They're like, dude, we had 20,000 reshares by students on campus.
Wow.
Who said that you guys were coming, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
You know
this
what
never
UIC
happened.
stands for?
Oh, is it legal to say that here? I'm not gonna get in trouble. University of Indian and Chinese, bro.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Absolutely,
Nobody from that college is watching this show or listening to
sure. Dude, I went to DePaul and didn't really go to class much, but we were in UIC partying all the fucking time.
Yeah,
it's
same
like
here.
2000s, you know. So that place has changed
Where
a lot.
did you grow up here?
I grew up in Frankfort, Illinois, southwestern suburbs.
Oh, okay.
Parents went there because taxes were cheap and it was easy to buy a house in 1997. We came to Chicago solely because my dad had a little brother who was a dentist here. So I always hilariously say I was born in Chennai in India, where it's like 100% humidity, hot as fuck, tropical. And then my dad was like an oil worker in Doha, Qatar in the 70s and 80s. So he was literally his 30s were like cleaning out like engine turbines as big as this fucking room for like the refineries that are pulling the crude oil out of the ocean. So we, saw him like on and off, 7 days off, 7 days in kind of thing. But, going from the desert heat to like, oh, we're moving to Chicago, guys. And we're like, cool, it's really fucking cold here. But I think the best story I always tell, I tell people even in our coach house this, because they always ask me where the fuck did I come from? And I think the biggest memory I have of Doha is during the first Gulf War in 1991.
Oh, shit.
We were kids, and in that part of the world, whenever something like that is going on, Doha and Qatar was like an ally of the U.S. because they were a straight shot over the Persian Gulf to launch airplanes into Iraq. So Iraq targeted Doha, Qatar because of that. And so we would have like these, kind of like sirens or whatever, bomb, if we're going to get attacked or whatever. And so during wartime, every single TV channel had changed to CNN. So as a kid, it was fucking boring, right? Because you're just like looking for something to watch because you've already seen all the cassette tapes of like random documentaries or Tom and Jerry or whatever. And so one day me and my sister were just kind of flipping, and I was like, this is so crazy, man. It's just like, I don't care about CNN. You know, I'm like 8 years old. And Star Sports comes on, and Star Sports is like the only channel that wasn't CNN, and it was an international kind of sports channel in Doha, Qatar. And so I put it on, and I'm just like, what is this? And it's Bulls versus Lakers. Jordan goes up with the right and finishes with the left.
Yes.
And that was like the moment I fell in love with basketball. Like I was like, what is this? I need to play it.
Yeah.
I recorded it real quick on the fucking VCR type shit. You know, showed all my boys, and then we were playing basketball the next day. Built like a fucking really whack ass. Like,
should we explain what a VCR is?
yeah, kids play.
There's definitely some people that don't know.
They don't know what fuck. Yeah, they don't know. It's a tape.
Video
They'll be like,
cassette recorder.
Video cassette recorder. Yeah,
People don't know what a tape is either.
that's true, man.
I don't know what
wild.
VHS is though.
V8 video. Yeah, what the fuck is the H?
I don't know
have
what
no
H
idea.
is.
What is VHS?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
No. So I mean, after that happened, my dad, when he came and said we're moving to Chicago, I was like, I didn't even give a fuck what
Right.
Chicago was. I was like, I'm moving to Michael Jordan.
I love
You know what I
that.
mean?
That is so cool that you had this connection to the city before you even part of it.
Yeah. And
That's
so
so
when
cool.
we applied for the visa and we were like, found out we were moving here, I was just ecstatic. And like,
That's crazy.
my mom's a huge sports fan. She's like 5'3", hijabi meaning she wears a scarf, but super competitive Asian woman that just does not like to fucking lose, you know? And so
That's
we would
great.
be, me and her would just be watching fucking screaming at the TV during like the 96 Bulls season,
That
all
is
that.
so cool.
Sister and dad don't give a fuck, you know? So, but yeah, it's like, that was my first, I was like, I'm going to Michael Jordan,
That's
you know?
awesome.
Yeah.
So here we are.
How do I pronounce the city that you're from?
I'm from Chennai.
Chennai.
Yeah.
Chennai.
And can you explain geographically where that is?
It's literally the southern tip of India. So
Wow.
where Margaret is from and Vinod are from, which is
Okay.
Kerala, is literally like if that was Iowa, and Illinois is Chennai. So it's like
Oh,
right next to each other,
shit.
and they're both the southern tip of India. And I would say, I mean, like, you know, everybody says where they're from is the best food, sure, but like that area is so special
It actually is.
because
It is.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like historically, it's
makes
one of the
sense.
most like kind of traveled places on
Right.
earth for eons with you know, spice trade and just traders in general. And the north was a lot of, I mean, obviously there was war everywhere during those times, but the south of India has always been way more diverse, you know. So there's a lot of big Christian community, big Assyrian community,
Oh, interesting.
big Muslim community, big Hindu community, of course.
Right.
But like there's everybody else too.
A lot of missionaries that like
Huge.
just landed there. It's
Yeah.
a port city.
It's a port city. Yep,
Okay, cool.
Absolutely, yeah. And it used to be a sleepy town before the recent, you know, now it's just a tech, like humongous, like bustling city now. And when I grew up there, it was just like the fish, you know, by the ocean, chill, very island mentality, like
love
kind of
that.
hang out, which is still there, you know, but it's just, progress is good. Progress is great. Now my cousins are like, fuck you, bro. We don't care, you know? Before it was like, oh man, you're going to America, you know?
They're like,
Now
I
they
heard
have
it's
their own
pretty
shit
shitty
going
over
on.
there now.
Yeah, straight up.
Would you say the cuisine is similar with you, with Kerala and?
Yeah, I think the difference between the north and the south are key, really spices, right? The north doesn't have curry leaves. They don't. I mean, they have it. They use it now, but like as a kind of like a designation of where they are. The south is known for pungent, strong flavors.
I love that.
Spicy as hell.
Yeah.
But so much variety, and it's just kind of wild. And that's why as the whole goes back to like, you know, we can't let butter chicken and chicken tikka masala really like represent
Right.
a continent, or not even continent, I'm sorry, a country,
Yeah.
that has some, India is like going to fucking Wisconsin and the language changes, the fucking, you know, food changes and the religion changes every 30 feet. You know, so it's like,
That
it's
is
so
crazy.
diverse.
And I don't think most people understand that. And maybe we can just kind of like peel back a couple basic
Sure.
things about
Sure.
the country. I
Yeah.
mean, there are so many different dialects within India.
Not even dialects, bro. They're straight up different languages.
Oh.
They don't,
Like
it's
you
not
don't,
the
you
same.
can't understand each
No,
other.
I can't understand like
Crazy.
you know, Malayalam, where Vinod is from, as opposed to like there'll be some things maybe, but not really a lot.
Wow.
The north, it's completely different because it's more Urdu, Hindi, which is, you know, Hindi's obviously spoken a lot everywhere, but not in the south. Nobody fucking speaks Hindi in the south.
interesting.
It's more English actually and
really?
Tamil
Because
or-
of the influence. Right?
Yeah, it's just you know, we always joke like anybody on the street in South India will speak to you in English. You know.
Wow.
It's wild. But like up north, it's more Persian influenced. It's more of those kind of
cool.
northern, Mongolian, everything. So it's like you have a lot of, like, you'll go to Hyderabad, for instance, really trippy. And people literally, they're straight up ethnically Chinese, but they speak to you in Urdu. And I'm just like, freaks me out. Because I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, we had a family member like that. I'm like, yo, I just want to watch you talk, bro. This is wild,
The world is changing.
But it's just, it's so diverse up there. And it's like each different region is completely different. The west of India, where Goa and Bombay is, that was more Portuguese influenced because of Portuguese colonization there. There was a lot of French colonization down south, and then British came through with the East India, trading company, and basically took over the whole fucking thing. So
That's crazy.
it's wild. There's a lot of influence. Yeah.
Wow.
And you lived there how many years?
I grew up there between India up through basically between India and Doha up till I was like 8, 9 years old.
So you're pretty fluent, and
I speak Urdu, Hindi. I lost Tamil just because Tamil is such a hard language.
Yeah.
It's super, super old. And if you're not practicing in it, you just lose it. And we spoke, because we're Muslim at home, we spoke more Urdu and Hindi at home, even in the south of India. So that I held on to, But now my parents just talk shit about me and Tamil, and I can tell, it's like my sister kind of held on to some of it. So whenever they're kind of teasing or whatever, they'll speak in Tamil, and I'm like, yo, I know what you're saying.
Is your family very traditional?
Yeah, I would say for the most part, pretty traditional, pretty religious, but chill. It's like everyone has changed a lot. Even being Muslim in America changed a lot, obviously, after 9/11. And it's like any other religion, it's like a culture takes over at a certain point. And so I think from an Islamic standpoint, it's really fun. It's really cool to see what's happened in the past 10 years is that kind of the more progressiveness of the original religion is coming back, where people are like, hey man, let's calm down with all this like added cultural things that we added to the religion. It's like, just take it back to the basics of who we're supposed to be, good character,
Not
to remember you're not God. So like, you don't have to impose your shit on everybody else. Like it's between you and your creator. And so that, I think for me, that's been a big theme for me, because I grew up in a very, conservative household, pretty religious household. So naturally, when you reach your college or 20s, you're like, yo, fuck this shit. I'm going to try everything, you know? And it's like, it happens. But then I would say I've never lost my spirituality throughout that, So it's, for me, it's about character. It's about what you do every day,
And when did like food become prevalent in your journey?
Man, we are obsessed with food in our family. And I think in general in India, right? Like it's when they're having breakfast, they're fucking talking about what they're going to do for lunch. There's no chill about like, why don't we just enjoy breakfast first? And then we'll worry about lunch. But yeah, food is huge. My grandmother on my mom's side was just a beast when it came to cooking. And my first memory really growing up was like, being very small and kind of overlooking one of these tables, and just like, it didn't matter. Anytime we were in our house, no matter who it is, you're waking up at 7 a.m. to have breakfast together as a family, and it's like, but the confusing part as a kid was just like, yo, why the fuck is there food for like 40 people on this table and there's only like 5 of us here? You know what I mean? So, but it was just like, it was all about, she's a grandma. So it's if multiple grandchildren are visiting, she made sure she made all the favorites of every single grandchildren. It's just like, food is a huge part. My mom is like another amazing cook. When we moved to Frankfurt, me and my dad built her like an illegal kitchen in the garage just to like do like, catering out of. So she was
awesome.
doing kind of underground catering or whatever, but she was so like nervous that all our white neighbors would like call the police on her, or call the FBI on her. And I'm just like, they don't give a fuck that you're making food in here, because our whole cul-de-sac basically smelled like Indian food. And this is Frankfurt, Illinois at 1997, where there's no Indians, right? So it's like, me and my sister at that age were like, freshmen in high school. We're like, fuck it, dude. Because she wouldn't open the garage because she was too afraid that, she didn't want to let people know. And I'm like, whether you like it or not, the whole fucking neighborhood smells like biryani. You're not going to really hide anything. So we just cracked that motherfucker open one day and just gave plates to all our neighbors. I
love that.
And that's how, then she was being harassed in the best way possible by Mike the plumber across the street. He was like, hey, Nasri, that shit's really good, And she's like, it's just fun kind of like introducing your neighbors to Indian food like that. Blew their mind. And like that, after that, like it was an open kind of, everyone knew each other. It was kind of like that icebreaker that we needed. So yeah, food has been a huge part of my family.
I love
huge
that.
part of my family, yeah.
And is it more mom or dad or both?
It's definitely mom more. Dad cooked when he had to, but mom is like cooking in mom's kitchen is tough because like she'll be like, yeah, I'm not gonna say, I'm not, you do your thing,
Yeah.
but then like she's literally like right over you. So whether you're my daughter or my sister cooking or my wife now, she's like, I don't even want to cook in the house. She's like, your mom's gonna come through and just destroy everything, and it's like it's true because even if I'm doing it, she'll be like, oh, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing that?
Oh, you're putting that
I'm like,
in?
man, you were meant to be in a kitchen, mom. And she'll till this day be like, yo, I can line cook, let me come through. And I'm like, you're freaking 68 years old. You are not
my
lasting
God.
on this hot ass
And she's
kitchen.
not going to listen to you.
No, she is convinced she can do it. And I love that. It's like she's one of those. I think I feel like kind of full circle that I'm becoming her, and my wife tells me that all the time.
Yeah,
I love that.
And it's just the mannerisms and just kind of like, man, I'll be sometimes I'm like, shit, I'm becoming my mom. It's like some of that fire comes through or the stubbornness and stuff like that. But it's just wild, man. It's she's been a huge part of our lives in the sense of in our whole family, she's known as the cook of the whole fucking family. So everybody knows that if Nasreen's cooking, even if you're full and you're not hungry, you're gonna eat a plate. Like it does no matter what.
We got to come by and eat some food.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
She's awesome. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so are they both pretty big, cheerleaders of the decisions you've made, or
Now they are.
Okay. But like, I just wonder, cause like us in our situation, and like my mom being in a restaurant and the kind of the cook as well, like, just like a lot of, I feel like second generation children of immigrants, when their parents are like, especially in the restaurant business or cooking a lot, and understand the work that's involved, even if it's cooking for large families at home and never doing a restaurant, they get it that this is not tough. I mean, this is tough and this is not easy, right? And I wonder, like, how much of that did you get a lot of pushback growing up and they're like, don't do this?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we never owned restaurants in the family, but obviously mom, because of her catering and all that, I feel like that's still not comparable to what life in a restaurant is, because you're still kind of not dealing with all the crazy shit that we have to deal with every day. But no, definitely, I mean, I was such a horrible Indian kid, like I was not good at school. I hated, every aspect of school just was cringeworthy to me. Like I remember literally walking into classrooms and I could watch my mind just get up and fuck out. You know what I mean? Like definitely ADD or who knows what, but it's the Indian community. We're not diagnosing that shit, so it's like you just go to school. You just do it. You just have to do this. You have to either become a doctor, engineer, lawyer, and if all else fails, just do something professional so we can just tell people what you do and not feel embarrassed about it. So I went to DePaul and I didn't really go to class much. Was horrible at it, but I figured out to get into finance basically, and I interviewed my way into a bank job, and I basically was like a relationship analyst for Northern Trust and like fucking Washington Mutual for like 7 years.
Wow.
And hated it, hated it to the core, but aimlessly just did it because I'm like, hey mom, look, I'm going to work in a suit, everything's all good, like
mission
everything's
accomplished.
under control, got a job, we're good, but it was still, she knew it was not good. It's like, it's the whole like, you need to get a job, you need to get a house, you need to get a wife, you need to get hopefully more than 2 children. It's like it's things like that were always like, they were so nervous for me growing up, and it was just like, I was kind of the black sheep in the family because everybody else was a fucking dentist, was a doctor, and everything, nobody kind of shot. Nobody did anything besides the path that you're supposed to do. And then 2008 happened. And so when 2008 happened, I was working at Northern Trust, and, Bear Stearns goes down. As I remember, it's like I'm about to go to lunch, and they're like, hey, you should go see Cindy and whatever. And I'm like, okay, who the fuck is Cindy? And then basically got laid off. And because of the fact that, you're kind of working with money or whatever, they don't really let you go back to your desk. And it's like November or some shit. And so they walk me out of the building.
Jeez.
Texting my boy inside. I'm like, bro, I think they just walked me out of the building. Can you give me my jacket? I'm fucking cold. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
they wouldn't even.
No, because like,
collect
if you're
your
mad,
belongings?
you could do some, you could kind of put some shit in the computer and like affect something, and like you're basically, I'm processing trades on the market that my, or my superior would give me. So they were just like, anything with finance, they always walk you out of the building. So they walked me out of the building, and I always joke, man, I'm just like, if there were drones back then, I was like the only motherfucker smiling on LaSalle Street.
Wow.
I was so happy. I was so happy that I just got walked out of my job. And there's like, I'm surrounded by old dudes crying because their whole dream, whatever this dream is, but you know, their whole life basically kind of crumbled on that day.
Right.
For me, it was, my life was actually allowed to, like, I was like, a seed was planted, you know? So for me, it was like, fuck corporate America. I'm never doing that again.
Wow.
Hey, mom, can't do this anymore. It all fell apart. And now it was kind of like, okay, so as a adult at that point, I'm like 28 years old. And, you know, I'm just like, what do I do now? Like, what do I want to do? And that was really the first time I ever even asked myself that. Like, what is it that you want to do? And so I spent a few years exploring that. And I was part of like, with my boys, we did like, you know, this is, I'm going to date myself, man. This is like when Facebook business was just starting to happen or whatever.
Yeah.
So we would go to these bars, restaurants, and like, you know, food photography, and like do like basically kind of shit for that. Should have stuck with it. I'd probably be so rich right now.
Like social media.
Yeah. So basically before Instagram and all that, right? But what that did was it got me into restaurants. And so it just started to, the first time I ever walked into something like that, I was just like, dude, there's just something that pulls you about that beat, the rhythm of being in a kitchen. But I still wasn't sure. I was like, man, I can't fucking be a cook. Like, this is going to be stupid. Like, you know, nobody's going to go down with this. So after kind of fighting it for a couple of years, I just said, fuck it. 2013, after messing around with a couple of my boys who were like exec chefs at bars. And so I would hit him up and be like, hey, bro, Chris, like, I need to know what the fuck kitchen feels like. Never been in one. Can I come through? And he's like, yeah, sure. You know, and so I was this fracking fry cook doing like chicken tenders at the Ogden. If you remember the Ogden by United Center, it's like a bar. Man. It's like a Blackhawks bar, you know? So I'm like going to my 9 to 5 that I was just surviving on just to survive, get off, and then go to work at the bar, get off, you know. This is when I lived across the street and never really was there. I was basically taking naps in the building across the street. But yeah, after a few months, I was like, yeah, I want to fucking do this. And so I signed up as a prep cook at Pump Room in Gold Coast. Right. Amazing crew there that I learned so much from, and we're all really, really good friends still. And spent 2 years there, became a sous chef, and then I basically decided to go to California just because I was like, you know, cooking can take you places that I never imagined. So I was like, fuck it, why not try to get a job over there? So I staged at Otium in LA, which was cool. They offered me like $14 an hour to live in LA, and I was like, I don't think that's possible. And then I went to Bouchon in Yountville, and like Napa as like a person, even, or let alone as a person, is beautiful. But Napa, walking into Napa as a cook is like walking into fucking Narnia. You know, like it's just like gorgeous. The fact that, you know, vegetables everything just comes to the door. There's no like trucks really. You know, it was just wild. So I was like, yeah, I think I want to fucking do this, you know? So literally flew back, and my wife is such a ride or die. I was like, you want to move to California? She's like, sure. You know, and she worked from home. And so I was like, screw it. So we just packed literally everything we had in Ukrainian Village and just decided to drive, and like left everybody here. And everyone was like, where the fuck are you guys going? And we're like, we're just going to go live in Yountville and see what happens, you know? Went there, lived there for about 1.5 years. And it was after brunch, and you know what happens after brunch? You kind of get messed up or whatever. I was wasted. And so basically I was watching, after a brunch trip, I was just kind of letting loose. And I was watching Chef's Table one night, and it was the Guggen episode. And Guggen is that restaurant in Bangkok. And I'm watching this thing, and my wife hates it when I watch like food stuff, because she doesn't really give a shit about that stuff, you know? So it's like, and in his episode, Guggen got to where he was by writing a letter to Ferran Adria at El Bulli years ago. And he received a letter back saying, hey, come to Spain, bring spices. My ass just went crazy in that moment. And I was like, fuck this shit. I'm going to email this dude. And so I pick up my phone, and I emailed Guggen in that moment and kind of pour my heart out into this thing, and email the restaurant, email him. Forget about it completely, because I was letting loose and just went to sleep and went back to work the next day. And 8 months go by, and my wife is pregnant now. And like, basically, long story short, in that sense, the big Napa fire started to happen. So we got evacuated from Napa very, very abruptly. Like, it was super fast, where we're like, oh, we're settled in. And then next thing you know, I'm putting my wife on a plane back to Chicago because she had a baby in her. And like, you can't, you know, all the ramifications that can happen by inhaling smoke or whatever. It was wild. It was like our whole kind of world was just like turned upside down for a second. But we ended up moving back to Chicago, and Wazwan was a little idea I was working on in my our books that we have, right? And it was just jotting down kind of things, and basically we start in the infancy of it. Wazwan started in like above, Delta Bar on North Avenue. Somebody lived above Delta Bar and hired me for like a 4-person Valentine's dinner. That was the first Wazwan. So that was
what year was this?
2017.
Okay.
So that was the first dinner that was that I did it for Wazwan, and the reason why it's called Wazwan is because it's a culinary tradition from Kashmir, where in one seating you have 36 courses, right? And it blew my mind. I was like, this is cool. This is South Asian. Why the fuck do we not know about this? Or why hasn't anybody done this from like a kind of tasting menu perspective or like a fine dining perspective? And so that's why I started that. And it grew from like 4 people a night to 8 to 25 to 30. Now we're getting event spaces, but still very underground. I set up like a Shopify website where you're supposed to sell products, and I would be selling tickets on it. So it's just trying to figure out.
Created the first talk.
Yeah, I wish I did. But it's just kind of just figuring it out. Kind of really hustling. And in the infancy stage of it, one night I came back home. It was like 3 a.m. My kid's now 3 months old, and I'm like bottle feeding this dude, because my wife's exhausted and she's asleep, and it's 4 a.m. now, and I'm just like, kind of just getting him situated to go back, and my phone goes off, and it's Gagan.
Oh shit!
And I'm just like, holy shit! And I remember like
He's calling you.
No, emailed me back.
Oh, okay.
And this is like 8 months later, typical Indian shit, right? Super like, what the fuck, bro? Like, no, but it was just, I'm like dadding it, where it's like bottles, one-handed. I'm just like, this dude's in my hand, and I'm just like,
oh my God.
I'm like, it's just me and him having this moment. Everybody else is asleep.
Just drop your baby.
And I was just like, what the fuck? But no, it was just like, it was kind of responsive, like, hey, we have 1 spot remaining in July.
Yeah.
If you can move to Bangkok for this apprenticeship.
Oh shit.
We would love to have you. And I'm just like, this is fucking crazy. Like, who, I was like, wild, right? So I couldn't sleep, obviously. So I waited till everybody fucking woke up, and I told my wife, and my wife, again, ride or die. She was like, she hated it, but she's like, you got to go, know? And the kid's 3 months at that time. And so I was just like, okay. So I paused Wazwan, and I fucking moved to Bangkok for a few months.
That's crazy.
And did this apprenticeship. And it's like the wildest thing I think I've ever felt is like, you've seen the episode, right? You've seen his lab or whatever.
But you know what? For anyone that's listening and doesn't know, like, just shed a quick little brief light on the restaurant. And
totally. Gagan is a wild place. Gagan himself is an amazing chef. He's such a personality, because he just doesn't give a fuck about anybody, in the sense of like what you think of him, which is, I respected a lot. And so he's one of the first Indian tasting menu restaurants in the world at the time. 25 courses. The whole menu was just emojis. So you sat down, you get this list of emojis, and you have to figure out what the fuck you're eating, basically.
Oh my God.
And he was such a nostalgic dude too, because at the end of it, you basically got one. You remember in school, you had those, not Scantrons, the freaking overhead projectors.
Oh, yeah.
He would give you one of those at the end. And the clear sheet that matches, that basically had the description of the dishes with the emoji, right? So you get to take that home. That's like your last thing. So it's so cool. Like, I was just like, this is wild. And so watching that on TV was the first time I ever saw Indian food, not in a family style setting, not in coming out of just one big thing. And it was actually thought out and like whimsical and like really fun and playful and really creative. And I was like, damn, like I never thought, like most, I would say South Asians, we never give our own heritage credit, right? We always think French food is so good. Everybody else is so good. Everybody else has fine dining. We don't. We're just chill, I'm sure you guys kind of went through that as well.
100%.
And so that was my first realization of like, our food is, if not as good, much better, fuck like just 4 ingredients. Like French food is all 4 ingredients, and butter, and butter, I'm going to get a lot of flack for that maybe, but like when you talk about Indian food, it's like one fucking spice mix is 20 different spices, and it's like that's when I started to realize when I watched things like Gagan, because obviously he's also inspired by his heritage and his mother and all that. It's a realization that our moms, our grandmas are as crazy, as stubborn, as creative as any fucking fine dining French or, chef in general out there, because they put together these complex flavors without any fucking scales. They're not gramming shit out. They're just throwing shit, so that's like, it's mom cuisine, So Gagan kind of brought all those things on together into a palette where it was super beautiful, is full of art, and it's just wild to kind of, when you go there, it's still not fancy, right?
Yeah.
It's not $100 million fucking kitchen. It's not, it's like a old 119, it's like they turned a house into a restaurant in Bangkok. And it was sold out for like a year at a time. Like you could not get in there. And so they had a 14-seat lab that they had added to the house, which that was basically his 14-seat private experience. That's kind of what the coach house is inspired by, right?
I love that.
And for me, stepping into that lab the first day that they asked me to work or do some prep in it, I was like, fuck yeah, like this is so cool. And I took a picture of myself, and I never take pictures of myself. And I was just like, I have to do this. And it was just wild to kind of take a picture of yourself in the room that you were watching on TV like 8 months before, you know? And that was like it was ammo for me as a chef that was starting on its own, and kind of just giving me more. It's starting to believe in yourself, because you never believe in yourself, right? It's like the whole imposter syndrome. It's the whole everything, all the doubt that always sets in. It's like when you're standing in a room like that and you're like, yo, nobody, yes, your family's responsible and has affected you your whole life, but like you brought yourself there, you know? And especially with like, me and my wife always talk about it. Like I couldn't do anything of what I've done without her. She is the rock of the family. She's the foundation of it that lets me, you know, be able to do that. And this year was one of those years where it was just kind of like like that was the right decision, you know. Counting on yourself is the right decision. When you're not, you know, even if you're not completely sober and you want to go work somewhere, go ask the fucking chef, because you know what? He's probably going to say yes. He or she, they're going to respond, and they'll
always say yes to food.
Yeah, right. Especially now. But I don't know. It's just, it was just a very raw moment of just like, if that can happen, then anything can happen. So now it just opens up the floodgates of like, sure, you want to open up UIC and serve 33,000 kids? Fuck it, why not? You know, we can figure it out. Like, if you figure that out, you can figure anything out.
I love that. I feel like I just want to touch on that, because I feel, you know, we breezed over that photo thing, but I think for, you know, people out there that are in this kind of like journey and process of like getting to whatever it is that they want to achieve, you know, it's like always one of those like basic practices that people have always said, like mentors have always told me, like, you know, visualize yourself in what that means, right? Like put yourself in a place of success. And like having that photo of you standing there was like probably like you said, it's a tool, right?
Absolutely.
It was fuel to be like, man, I've dreamt of being here like so many nights when I watched that, and now I'm standing here and here's my photo of myself. Now, like, how do I use this to propel me to even the next
100%.
stage and you know, in this process? So
they had like you know, it's like a very unconventional chef coat with like a laser blue like line on it, and I was like, man, I got to put on the laser blue, like, you know, just to put it on. It's like putting on a jersey if you're joined a team or whatever, you know. And it felt really cool. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think everybody needs to have. I mean, it's all people now. You know, Instagram is flooded with individual like self manifestation and motivational fucking quotes every day, but. I mean, it is true, right? It's like a lot of people need to hear it, but I think a lot of people also need to make the connection that just doing that isn't enough. You have to work your fucking ass off, you know? And it's like you have to really nonstop and like check your ego at the door type thing. It's like my first, when I signed up as a prep cook, I was getting paid $11 an hour, and I was laid off of like a $60,000 job. So when people talk about having a problem with ego or like humility is the key. Like if you have humility, you can fucking do anything. If you can take a couple steps back to set yourself up to do something else, people are afraid to do that a lot, because nobody ever wants to go through that taking steps back, because they feel like shit. But it's like sometimes it needs that to kind of reset yourself, you know?
I love that. I think people are, you know, get comfortable and complacent, and they're afraid of like trying something new, because the possibility of failure is huge in the beginning. So it's always a risk, but it's like nothing great happens if you don't take risks.
100%. And it's like when you realize that, well, what are you risking? What do you got? You know what I mean? It's a lot of times. Sure, there's some people that they may list some things, sure, but from the grand scheme of things, though, it's like, you know, it's all material shit, man. It's like, just what do you
It's
risking?
a lifestyle. It's like,
regret is going to be way worse.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to jump into like your food for a moment.
Sure.
Just like hearing you earlier, there's, it seems like there's definitely a little bit of like a fucking fire in you about, and like a deep rooted commitment and passion towards what you want others to see and experience about where you're coming from and the food you grew up with.
Right.
And, part of that was like this, not to like jump too far into history here, but like the idea of, I want people to know that Indian food isn't just buttered chicken, right? And like where do you feel like that's, why is that the case, I guess, for people that don't know that? And, where do you want to see this thing go? And where do you want to see this thing move to?
For sure. I think why it starts there is just because of, it's that immigrant story, man. Like I will never get on any families or restaurants for the past 30 years who've come to America to support their families and cooked, chicken tikka masala or butter chicken. Cause it's always been about the immigrant experience of like, hey, we are not in our land. So we have to cook food that these guys are going to eat.
Right.
And so initially that's how it starts. But it's also kind of a picture of how vast something like Indian food is. And I'm sure it's the same with you guys, right? It's like, not all the regions make it over here, right?
Yeah,
and so really the way it's been in the world is that northern kind of like barbecue, chicken tikka, tandoori, kind of like leading part of that cuisine, part of our cuisine is the only one that's kind of widespread, you know? And now you see, slowly but surely, the restaurants have always been there, like, right, South Indian restaurants, but there's just not enough of them. So now they're more and more opening up. So for us, it was more, we have to put, it's kind of telling that accurate story of Indian cuisine, of showing how vast it is, showing how diverse it is. It doesn't have to be just that, know, and when it comes to history and it comes to colonization, that has a lot to do with it because it's, butter chicken is not, it's a British invention.
Right.
And so is chicken tikka masala. The guy who actually made or created the first chicken tikka masala lived in Scotland and just passed away.
That is so crazy.
An Indian dude that just moved there and just decided to kind of make a creamy butter sauce because that's what white people like, So it's just like he was trying to relate to that. So I don't blame him, right? It's like you're trying to feed who you're trying to feed and who your customer is.
So I knew about butter chicken. I feel like 99 out of 100 people out there wouldn't know that chicken tikka masala is not like
It's not traditional Indian.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a curry in India.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, right. No, but like legit, nobody calls anything curries. They call it curries to like tourists so they know what the fuck they're talking about and they'll buy it. But like, it's like your food. Every dish has a fucking name, man.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
a korma is a korma.
Yeah.
A biryani is a biryani. It's not just because it has sauce in it doesn't make it a fucking curry.
Well,
who did that? The British did because they don't want to fucking spend any time learning about who the fuck they're colonizing. It's just like, oh, I want curry, so let's, that's something with the sauce became a curry.
Man, and even as you were saying that, I was like running it through my head. I'm like, okay, so Indian food has kind of been boiled down to like these three items here, right? Tandoori, butter chicken, chicken tikka masala, naan bread.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Chinese food, like the same thing happened, right? Like orange chicken and like General Tso's and like
Those are American too.
right.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that like there's like this, I don't know, like it got boiled down to like these like a few things that people kind of like relate and it's
like
synonymous with Chinese food.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is that for Korean food? I'm like,
bibimbap. It's
but bibimbap is still bibimbap.
I know.
Like we didn't like
That's
make
traditional, right?
Right.
That's not something that was created here.
Yeah. I feel like with
But it's
Korean
been
food and
popularized.
Japanese, it's pretty like, I mean, I guess the Japanese would be like, we never had fucking salmon on our sushi, but now they serve salmon. But I'm just saying that
Is that
there's
true?
Yeah, and like
wow.
even with Thai food spans like from north to south, but everyone just thinks of like pad see ew and pad thai, right? It's like
I don't like being in Bangkok destroyed American Thai food for me. It's the best thing
And
that
I
ever happened
had-
in my life.
Wow.
We recently went to Minneapolis to a restaurant called Hi Hi. They do Southeast Asian food. Fucking flavors
Incredible.
I never like. I was just like everything was like, oh my god, you know. And then I recently went to Kalia in Philly, same, Thai. Man, same things. Like I've never had any of this before.
Have you had JJ Thai?
I've heard great things.
JJ
Okay.
Thai is like going to Bangkok.
here in Chicago.
Yep, Chicago Avenue, bro.
Oh
the
my
line is
God.
Thai moms.
All right.
Like you walk in, you hear the Thai rock. Like it is the best. I don't eat Thai food anywhere else. I swear to God. Like I
Right.
don't. I
And
can't
he's
do
literally
it.
Writing it down.
Yeah, I can't do it. No pad see ew on the menu. No pad Thai on the menu. It's just all whatever like Isan food and like really, really like Thai food.
Yeah.
And it's man.
I used to
it's
go to sticky
amazing.
rice, and then I would
Yeah.
just be like, send me everything that like you feel like represents Northern Thai cuisine.
Yeah. See, I got to the point when I came back from Bangkok, it's like if there's pad Thai on the menu, I'm like, I'm not going there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, if you can be that bold
Yeah.
to be like, we're not doing that, knowing that that's what people fucking look for every
Yes.
single time, it's not like they're not doing well. They're packed all the time. They're
Yeah.
to go, everything. They're just, because their food is really good, it's super authentic, and they stick to the fact that they are not going to do pad see ew or pad Thai. Like nothing, you know? So I respect the crap out of that. And so for me, that's why it always goes back to like, it's not like I think when you guys to order from us all the time when we were literally down the street here,
the little pickup center.
there was a post that I made one time because it was just like we were in the freaking ghost kitchen and we did just as a joke. We were just we called it like the thanks COVID you ruined us menu where we did like chicken tikka masala for 1 week.
Oh hell yeah!
And these fuckers
would've
bought
loved
so
to-
much.
I would have loved to try it. I'm not gonna lie. I love
I'm like,
chicken
God damn it, man. Like, but it was just hilarious. I literally put it on for like 3 days, and I was like, I can't do this shit anymore. I was
No,
like,
yeah.
I tell my staff, I'm like, if we start serving butter chicken, you're gonna find me hanging in the
Oh
fucking room.
man,
No fucking way, bro.
I
Can't
love
do
that.
it. Can't do it.
I'm sure you get some people that walk over there to
Absolutely.
Division Street and just like, oh, they don't have.
You know what's funny though? It's a lot of our own people too.
Yeah.
All the time. I would be like, "Where's the
Interesting.
dosa?" And I'm like, "Somebody sent you to the wrong restaurant." You know, it's like my mom makes the best dosa I know, and I love my mom. If I start making dosa, if you guys know what dosa
Oh,
is,
can you please explain this?
Dosa is a rice, basically a fermented rice crepe, and it's made on essentially kind of like a crepe maker is what they use here, but it's thinly like just your wrist. What your wrist has to do to like even roll out a dosa is like all muscle memory. Like I couldn't
Interesting.
do it for the longest time. I could do it now, and my mom's kind of mad about that. But she does a really best dosa ever, crispy. But you can never eat together. Whoever's making this dosa has to make one at a time. That's just the way you got to do it. You can't.
Oh, interesting.
You can't make a bunch of dosas and sit down because they're not going to hold that. You know, there's like a specific time period where you got to eat
There's
it while
a
it's crispy.
temperature and texture that.
Yeah, so restaurants that do it literally have a dedicated whole section on the line that's just like 8
Right.
crepe makers, and that's the only way you do it. You know, I don't have that,
Yeah.
and so I don't do those in my restaurant. But like with our flat top, we started exploring in this coach house. We started doing miniature versions of like different lentil crepes and rice crepes, and that's the cool thing about South Indian food is that. I love it when it comes to dietary restrictions because anytime these motherfuckers are like, oh, can we have dairy free? No problem. We use coconut milk. Gluten free, no problem. It's all lentils and rice based. You know, so it's like it's actually generally not. It's pretty good for you. It's pretty healthy. It's like healthy food. It's like much like Korean food, right? Like at home, my mom loves Korean food because she's like, man, this doesn't feel like crap when you're eating it.
Yeah.
And because Korean food is always broth centric and like rice centric, but it's not overly gluten. It's not overly any of those things. So it reminds her of that.
Salt. high in sodium.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, it just feels better, to eat. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, for us, it's always been kind of pulling in small parts of like culturally what makes us South Indian, but then also having fun. And that's what the street food part about it is like, we don't really, there's no rules up front. It's just do whatever we want, kind of do fun. Like our burgers and the freaking burger hop this year. And it's literally like spiced like a kebab, it's like a chapli kebab burger.
I love that.
And we did it like 4 years ago because we don't eat pork. And so I bought prime beef navel and started curing it myself and smoking it myself. And then we sliced it. And when we crisped it up on the fucking thing, I gave it to all my white boys. I'm like, hey, what is this? And they're like, bacon, And I'm just like, well, what kind of bacon? They're like, it's bacon. And I'm like, nope, this is halal beef bacon,
Oh,
And their
shit.
minds would just be like, how the fuck did you get it to do that? Because it's like, usually it's a different cut of meat is used and it's like super chewy. But this thing crumbled like real bacon did. And so we put it on this fucking burger with like a mint chutney and it just took off. Like people love it. Where I had like Muslims like calling and cussing me out. They're like, you gave me bacon on my burger. And I'm like, don't worry, brother, it's halal. It's like, took care of it myself, all good. But we go through Fatima, who's a small like a family here that is like, they're the ones that took halal food in a different way because they started doing more of the Western cuts that
cool.
our generation wants to eat from a halal perspective. Because in the past, you could never get like good cuts of meat that are like steak cuts. It was always braising cuts and like things that were going to be stewed. And so these guys now, like now we get our bacon. It's hilarious. They literally drop off navel to this Amish farmer who doesn't have a fucking smartphone. So they have to put it in this cooler and write him a note on who it's from. And then he cures it like bacon and smokes it and then delivers it back. And then we go and pick it up. Like it's just wild, but his shit is so good. It's amazing.
Where is it? In here? Chicago?
Indiana. It's like the farms there, yeah. A lot of the halal meat is basically they go to Indiana Amish farms because they know the Amish actually take care of their poultry and, you know, kind of meat and the way how, you know, we would like to do it.
I love that. I hate labeling like restaurants and food. And like, you know, we talk about this a lot on the show before about, you know, whether this is Korean, whether this is Korean American. And, you know, if you had to introduce the concept to, you know, first time diners that are interested in coming to Wazwan, like, what should they expect about the restaurant?
It's really, really fun. Street food, basically the space is broken up into two, right?
Yeah.
And the front is street food. It's 22 seats, and it's essentially just us having fun with versions of street food. So we have a tandoori fried chicken sandwich on there that we can never take off any menu.
Which is fantastic, by the way. I just picked it up the other day. So.
I appreciate it. The story of that thing is kind of wild if you want to hear it.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Essentially, it's when we were doing the underground pop-ups, we had a moment one day where we just kind of put a dish together, and it was inspired by actually the seafood pancake that you guys do. But we did like a scallion corn cake, essentially, with like a Filipino achara. So it was pickled daikon, pickled carrot, and a tuile. There's this nice little piece of tandoori fried chicken. So it was like tandoori meaning the spices that go into it, not where it's cooked in. And we marinated it, fried it, and then, you know, made like a 15-spice honey butter. And it was like this beautiful dish. And it was, people loved it. It was the anchor of our tasting menu in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then 2019, there was the first time I Heart Halal happened. We're very, very original about how we, you know, name our festivals, as you can tell. But I Heart Halal happens in Navy Pier, and it's like the biggest halal festival ever to happen in Chicago.
Cool.
30,000 people. And they approached us because they were like, these guys are just doing something different. But we were really confused because we were like, we do tasting menu. We didn't do any casual food at the time. And they were like, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do a street food booth? We're like, you know, I'm Indian, so I'm like, yes, if I can sell food to 30,000 people, I'll figure out how to do a street food booth, you know? So I was just like, yeah, sure, street food booth, no problem. And then we were like, what the fuck do we do for this street food booth? And one night we were just looking at all this thing, and I was looking at this fucking dish, and I'm like, why don't we just put that thing in a bun, you know? And so we kind of expanded all the components of it without the corn cake, and then substituted it in a bun, made like a gochujang aioli, right? And basically, like, no, I found out what a resale license was that week because I was calling bakeries, like, can I have 1,500 buns? And they're like, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Right. And so I had to find that out real fast. Somehow, through LinkedIn, I tracked down, like, the guy who runs, or somebody's uncle at fucking Toronto Baking, and, like, have a 5-minute phone call with the dude. And I just kind of spieled, you know, gave him the whole sob story. I was like, I just had a kid. I just started a business, man. Like, I need 1,500 buns. Like, I don't have a resale license. And he's just like, stop talking. And I'm like, okay. He's like, what do you need exactly? I'm like, 1,500 buns. He's like, okay. He's like, come to dock number 5, 5 a.m. Bring an empty car in Oak Park and bring $492 cash. And I'm like, done. No problem. Wow. I send one of my boys in like a fucking Volkswagen Jetta, empty it out. And I'm like, yo, just make sure your car's empty. They're going to give you a lot of buns, and make sure it is buns. It's not like drugs or some shit. But like gave him the $492. He shows up at 5 a.m. and they pack his fucking car with a whole pallet of buns. And he shows up to Navy Pier in like, you know, all you could see was his hands and his fucking face, and then just brioche buns around him. And that weekend we sold 500 pounds of chicken. All buns were gone. We had a FedEx sign that just said tandoori fried chicken and fries, you know, and across from us was Let Us Entertain You with their like 8 fucking spots
of
like halal shit, because they just bought frozen halal food, like frozen halal burgers, and they're just like, oh, this is halal food by Let Us Entertain You.
Wow.
And we shit on them so hard. It was fucking amazing. Like, it was like 400 people in line to wait. Like, they were just like, who the fuck are these guys, you know? Yeah. Even we were like, who the fuck are we? You know? So it's just like, and we were just, I mean, it was just like, that day I was like, damn, I can never stop selling this sandwich. And that sandwich ended up taking us through a pandemic. You know, it was the only thing that, if we didn't have that sandwich, we wouldn't be here, you know? And the way that kind of went, it was just like, kind of the organic way of how street food started in the front. So a lot of the front is just us having fun with our flavors and not necessarily sticking to what a dish is. It's like whatever. And yeah, there's traditional food up there. It's like chettinad chicken masala is the super spicy one that we brought here. The pepper fry that we brought here for the event. Stuff like that is all traditional. And then we have kati rolls that are like these huge, almost like tortillas that we make, but they're Indian tortillas, I guess. But like, you know, fill it with like, we make achars. Achars is like a pickle, essentially.
Yeah.
And in India, pickles are all about spice, fucking sun, because it's so goddamn hot, and like thyme, you know. And so we make all the pickles in-house. So flavor is always, we don't ever dumb down our flavors for any palate, you know. So it's like, I trust the American palate a lot more. I always tell people this. I'm like, I think people want to get their head blown off. You know, it's like people are not, you still have, a very small segment of the population that wants like the, you know, can I adjust the spiciness? And we'll just be like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I love that.
it's the way it is, man. Like, that was really spicy, chef. I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, thank you. But yeah, it's just the front is all about that. And then the coach house is really, man, I would say I'm like a nightmare to a conventional chef because I didn't come from like kitchens, right? So my R&D process is not even a process. It's just I lock myself in the coach house and I just, whatever comes out is whatever comes out. You know?
I love that.
And it will be like food inspired by my mom and conversations with my mom, conversations with like family members, because I'm always trying to act like, you know, ask them like, what did you eat back home that you have never seen since you left?
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff we'll try to pull into the coach house. And really, we're introducing even our own community of like, what is this? And I was like, this is from our fucking country, dog. It's just from the South.
I love
You've
that.
never heard of it because we've been eating, you know,
Yeah.
naan.
We have a dish called the Royale on our menu. It's rice cakes, but it's most people know them as tteokbokki, and it's spicy rice cakes. But our version is it was like the royal version of it, and even Koreans are like, I've never had this before.
Yeah.
So it's like it's awesome to like introduce your own culture to your own people. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. So the coach house is really full of that. It's really mostly a South Asian menu. But then our anchor in our tasting menu right now is like this 927-year-old dish. It's like a 927-year-old recipe that we found.
Cool.
Essentially, in 2021, we had a server walk in one day, and she was like, "Chef, I'm either hungover or I have fucking COVID." And I'm just like, "That's one way to walk into work, right?" And so we send her home, obviously, and then it basically it was too late. Everybody went down with COVID. We all went down with
We've
COVID.
had a couple of those,
bro, it was right around the last 2 weeks of December. We had to refund so much money because we had like New Year's Eve party planned. We had all this like tasting menu sold, tickets sold, all that. We had to reverse all of it. But I look back on it, I was like, that was a gift because that put me in a quarantine in a room for 15 days straight for the first time in 10 years where I had never taken a break. I've never sat and like thought about anything but that. And so I come across this fucking book, and it's 174 recipes from pre-Crusade Spain.
Holy shit.
Right? And it's all Muslim recipes. So it's Islamic records of food that they used to eat pre-Crusade in Spain. And I'm just like, this is kind of wild. And as you look into it, you realize, and that's what the coach house is about. The coach house is basically, we're kind of traveling this spice road that goes from southern Spain all the way across southern Europe into the Middle East.
That's so cool.
Exits the Middle East into Persian Gulf from modern day Basra, Iraq, which is a very small town now, but used to be like a bustling medieval city, a medieval port city. And then the first stop for those travelers back then was southern tip of India, Kerala, and Chennai, which was the gateway to the east, right? And it's the place our fucking friend Christopher Columbus was trying to find, but he went the wrong fucking way.
Right.
And like, now it's like basically we know that's how that story goes. And it's just kind of wild because imagine if he actually did find the right place. It's like, it's just kind of nuts. So we're traveling this spice road where there's so much back and forth for eons when it comes to, before we ever started flying or shipping shit. We've been walking these roads for a long time.
It's so crazy.
And so I found this book, and like the first recipe that just jumped out at me was Numidian. And Numidia was this small little kingdom on this spice road in Spain, where it was predominantly Christian, but it was, big Jewish population, big Muslim population, big global trade population. So like the sauce that was Numidian, we left it verbatim from that book. So it's when you're coming to eat on that last dish, the ingredients of that sauce is verbatim fucking 927 years old. Wow. So it is cumin. Nah, man, I'm giving away the whole thing. Now nobody's gonna come. But basically, cumin seed, coriander seed, dates, pine nuts, finished with like red wine vinegar and fish sauce.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Right? And seeing fish sauce in a
What?
fucking Spanish 927-year-old recipe,
yeah.
you're just like, what the fuck is going on, right? And that is another rabbit hole of like, because they were introduced to fish sauce by Southeast Asian travelers, each of the essentially civilizations there started to working on their own fermentations, and they created something called muri, which is basically like a fermented mushroom kind of condiment, same pungent, very strong. I mean, fish sauce is still king. You can't touch fish sauce.
So
but
good.
to see it in a 927-year-old Christian, Jewish, Muslim, like Southeast Asian influenced recipe is just wild, you know?
I love that.
Things like that is what we're doing in the Coach House, where let's just do something like that nobody's ever fucking heard of. And just kind of bring history. I was a huge history buff growing up. I just I just watch ESPN and I watch fucking History Channel. You know, that's it.
Right.
So history is a big part of who I am.
That's awesome.
And so be able to do that now, it's so ironic because I'm like, man, I never got to do that. I would never be doing this if I was in finance, right? Yeah. It's like cooking allowed me to tell history now and our history, and you know, it's just wild. It's such a great,
That's
such a great feeling. Yeah.
I love that you're like taking your diners through not just like a journey back in time, but also just throughout the world and on this beautiful kind of journey that existed for so long. How many seats are in the Coach House?
22.
22.
Yeah.
And is it a set time seating? Or?
Yeah. Basically on Fridays and Saturdays, we do a 6 p.m. and an 8:30 seating. 8 courses, and then inspired by that duck dish, now we started doing for the past couple months a millennia menu on Wednesdays and Thursdays, where all 5 courses come from that book. So all 5 courses are 500 to 900 years old recipes that are inspiring these courses. Oh my God. So it's just really fun, man. It's like it's what you find is just hilarious, because like you start reading these recipes, and these are like the great grandfathers and grandmothers of the what we now know as like Midwestern food. You know, there'll be like one of the dishes on there right now, it's Andalusian pie. And when you read this recipe, it's just like take cast iron pan, layer it with a pastry dough, fill it with a 4-hoofed stew or a poultry stew, so red meat or white meat.
Jeez.
And then layer it again on top with another layer of dough. And I'm just like, this motherfucker's talking about chicken pot pie. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. For real.
It's like legit.
I love
But it's like, it is, right? And I'm just like, this is crazy. So we're good friends with Frontier, Chef Jupe, and Chef Ozzy over there. So I found some really beautiful halal lamb belly. So I smoked lamb belly, and we do like a smoked lamb belly on Andalusian pie with like black olives and spice, like garlic, ginger, was it golden raisins, almonds, and it's just, we do like a Syrian sheep's milk cheese that we caramelize on top. Oof. So it's just like, you know, it comes out really petite, and it's this beautiful like pie, but it's just straight from the book. And we're essentially trying to read this book from the perspective, I guess, to give your listeners a feedback of this book. It's literally called 174 Recipes from Medieval Islam, pre-Crusade. And so as the Spanish Inquisition is happening, they started burning all the mosques and all the libraries in Cordoba and all that. So some poor soul, 1,000 years ago, started to save excerpts of whatever they could from these fucking libraries. And then they found this collection of papers in Spain a few years back. And a scholar, she basically started to translate them. And she's like, dude, these are fucking recipes.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
This is like a food book, you know? And so it's just wild because people always, you know, relate Arabic with just Islam. But when you're being in America, you forget that Muslims were in Spain for 800 years. Yeah. Right? Stretching from Spain all the way to the border of China, essentially going all the way across Southern Europe, Northern Italy, like all of that. And you see those, you see the kind of the effects of that. And Sicily is Sicily is also affected really big by the Mediterranean. So a lot of Northern Italy and all that, and like the Croatian side, the Bosnian side is very obvious, but there's so much Ottoman influence that was there. Yeah. But when the Spanish Inquisition had started happening, they started burning all the history books because they didn't want any remnants of Muslims left in Spain, right? Crazy. So that's when they reintroduced pork. They basically took us out of all the history books. Wow. And so this is kind of like the collection of that. And the hilarious part, not hilarious at all, but I'm sorry, but the interesting part is that the oldest food recipe books that have been uncovered in the world are in Arabic, not necessarily because they were Muslim, but because they were produced in kind of Muslim-controlled lands at that time. So even white people spoke Arabic back then. You know, you're a traveler. If you were a Southeast Asian traveler, you spoke your language, and you travel. You know, you spoke the language of the places you're going to travel through in order to, you know, do your business, right? So it's just immense, man. It's just so crazy.
It is crazy. I'm like trying to like put myself in that spot where this person like discovered this book, and they were just like, "Oh shit, we we don't know what this is," and then slowly she's like, "It's escoffier." It's like it's a fucking recipe. What the fuck?
Shit time escoffier. It's like,
I love that.
I mean, you know, it's like it's old.
Yeah.
You know, and when you start reading for us, we literally, you can tell that they were burning papers because it's very incomplete sometimes.
Interesting.
You don't have all the facts of all the, you know, kind of like direction really. But that's when you put on your cook hat and you, hey, if you got spices, you toast it. You got, you know, dates, you get them warm or something, you know, like cook them down, or you know, like toast the pine nuts. Like you start thinking like a chef, you start thinking like a cook, and then it comes out awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been a bit awesome year. I just want to kind of like touch on this because you've had a pretty wild run this year. 2023 has been a great year.
It's been good, man. I'm so grateful, and it's really wild going back to, it doesn't feel real a lot. It really doesn't. I was, I don't even know what to say. Like it's, for me, it's, you know, you'll relate to this too. It's like, I'm very much so put my head down and just kind of do whatever the fuck we're going to do. And, I was taught by my mom at a very young age is this: you just fucking work hard and you don't worry about what anybody else is saying, and you know, whatever is meant for you will come when it's time for it to be, you know, for your time, basically.
What was it like to getting the call and finding out that James Beard has nominated you? Like, what was that?
Hilariously, they never called me.
Oh
no! So basically,
just
I
like
was
the
dropping
Eater
off.
article.
Are you straight up
serious?
So I was dropping off my fucking 5-year-old at school. And my phone started going off. And, you know, when the phone goes off at 8:30, either your restaurant's on fire or like maybe something good happened. And a food critic from a certain newspaper was there a couple of days before. So do we name these guys here?
Yeah, you can say.
Oh, okay, cool. Nick.
Kindlesberger?
Yeah.
I destroy that last name every time. What is it?
Kindlesberger.
I always go Spingelbacher.
That's
I'm sorry.
I'm sure
if
he'll
you
take
listen to this. But yeah, you know, it's my last name's Mohajir. It's hard too. But basically, yeah, he came through, and I was like, you know, he had a great experience. And I was like, maybe he wrote something good about us. Awesome. And then essentially, I started seeing that they were all congrats messages. So I'm like, okay, something happened. So I'm just like, what the fuck happened? And then somebody else, basically, Ashok was like, yo, congrats, chef, you're a James Beard nominee. I'm like, what? Well, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And then essentially he kind of like, he showed me the article, and I was like, holy fuck. Like, that's crazy. That's fucking wild. Like, I dreamed about that, and I knew, you know, I was like, I'm sure it'll happen, but not now, you know, like not this soon, I would say, or it really kind of took me by surprise. But it was a very emotional morning in the sense I was like, damn, this is weird. You know, you can't, I kind of felt sad a little bit because I was like, Wazwan has always been like this small dude, small guy, like small fucking pop-up that's been swinging with like the big boys in the sense of just kind of like just being part of just being part of that Chicago conversation for the past few years has been I'm so grateful for it, you know, but now it's like, I can't tell people, you know, it's like, now you're not small anymore. I mean, you're still small, but like now when you got something like that, it's like, it's a different, you're in a different plane.
That's national recognition.
Right. Yeah. And it feels weird, honestly. Because for me inside, I'm still like a piece of shit, failed Indian dude that is like, fell backwards into cooking. And I love cooking more than I love anything else in regards to like profession. You know, it's it's something that I felt really complete the second I walked into a kitchen, the first time I ever did. So
that's an important lesson, though, right? Like, stay small, stay humble.
Absolutely,
right?
Man.
Don't lose your sight on your original plan, right? It's like these things come and go, and you know, whatever it is, like, you know, you just gotta write it up and down, and then be willing to climb back up if 100%. It takes that. So.
Yeah. My wife yelled at me. She's like, because immediately I was like, all right, how do we make this thing fucking work for us? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of getting nominated when
you
it doesn't
definitely
benefit
should.
you and the family, and being like, we've been grinding together for years now, and like, hey, baby, like this is finally like this will
capitalize.
Let's get stable and let's get real now. And she was just like, can you just enjoy this for 5 minutes? And I'm like,
I love that.
but that's not how we're built, right? It's like we have to just be like, cool, great, thanks, get back to work. You know, like back to work,
keep going
and keep doing more. What else can we do? You know. So yeah, no, it's been an amazing year. We're very grateful for it. But yeah, the vibe has always been the same. Yeah. I don't think it'll ever change. It can't change, you know. So yeah.
Well, I love it. Change, but you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, we had Zubair here along with a bunch of other chefs during James Beard weekend here in Chicago, and you know, Zubair was kind enough on a really busy weekend and just a busy time for all of us in general. I felt like it's just it's convention season and James Beard, and it's like one of the hardest weekends to get in the fucking a hotel in Chicago.
It was wild.
Like the cheapest price for a hotel room that weekend was probably like $600.
Wasn't there like a concert going on too?
There was Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, it was just a shit show, and we had an awesome party here, and Zubair prepared some food for all of our guests. Everybody's raving about it.
That party was more beneficial to me, I felt like, than the rest of the James Beard weekend. Like even being at James Beard.
That's cool.
Because I got to meet so many amazing people. Yeah. Like Danny Lee is such a dope dude.
He is.
And like he gave me and he's such a, I think just karaokeing with Kenji is just like a fucking iconic moment in my life. But you know, Danny Lee coming at my wife like, sing that song, you know? I was like, this is so cool. Like looking around the room, I'm just like, these motherfuckers are these are all OGs, like so great.
It was
but
crazy.
They're so humble, down to earth, and it's like we have no right to ever change. Like if these guys, after accomplishing all the stuff they've accomplished, are still down to earth and
you just
like
want to get fucked up.
I asked, straight up. I asked Danny Lee, like I was like, hey man, I'm about to open these universities, like. Can I ask you a question real quick? I don't want to make you work. He's like, fuck that. He's like, sit down. Let's talk about it. You know, it's like,
hell yeah.
Gave me like 15 minutes at you know, that night. And it's what he said to me, we've basically implemented like into how we're going to roll out these universities, you know?
I love
it's
that.
just like everybody that was there that you guys brought together, honestly, meant a lot more to me than anything else. Like, honestly, that interaction here afterwards was just so fulfilling, and
I love that.
it felt great. I mean, it was more than anything. The following days was all just, you know, dress up and fucking clap and shit, you know? So it's just like that interaction with people up close just meant so much.
For sure. And it was a step in the right direction, and we'll keep trying to push that to tie in this community.
Well, it was a magical night though.
Magical.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
100%.
Magical.
But we'll do it bigger next year. So,
100%.
And we're already in talks of with the organizations to try and make that happen.
Yeah.
I want to get to one question here before we get to a little game, a quick game here for you. If there was something throughout this journey and process that you feel like is a lesson you've learned along the way that you wish your younger self knew at an earlier age and time, like what would that be? And it doesn't have to be like this monumental thing, but something that maybe comes to mind right away that's like
younger self in cooking or younger self in general?
In general.
Oh, man.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would say younger self, just what we talked about, how I got to Guggen. It's like ask, you know. Don't ever be afraid to ask. If you want to go learn from somebody, go ask them.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go work somewhere, go ask them. And it goes back to, it's kind of cliche of taking that risk or whatever, but I think trusting yourself is very, very important. And for me, the biggest moment in my life was knowing that from this point on, really having that personal conversation of like, if I fail or if I fail, it's on me.
Yeah.
And if I'm successful, it's on not only me, but my community and my family and everybody. But if you fail with this opportunity, then that's on you, you know? So it's like putting that pressure on your shoulders for me made the biggest difference in my life. Cause I was like, you know, I'm not going down like that, you know? So you're going to give every ounce of effort, and just, not being afraid to ask, man. I think that would be the biggest. My younger self always was trying to figure out how somebody else is going to make me money, or how somebody else is going to hook me up with something or an opportunity or whatever. When I started cooking, I was like, well, this is how you're going to create opportunity for yourself, your family. And this is how you're going to, you know, kind of, it's like at least in our community of, there's still not that many Indian chefs. You know what I mean? There's still, I mean, the guys out in New York with Dhamaka are an inspiration. They're awesome too, very cool. And like those guys are, you know, we're still coming out of the woodwork as a profession and really embracing it. Unfortunately, you know, things like Food Network and like Top Chef and shit like that is what made us look cool in our communities. Because now my son is on Top Chef. Like, it's like, oh, now we're cool. You know, it's like awesome. You know,
it's official.
But yeah, but it's cool. I think that is I think it's a great step. I don't knock it at all. I think it's amazing that finally our community gives the respect that it should to cooks and chefs, because it's always been a very we call it in our community mazdoor ka kaam. I mean, service industry. You know, so if you go to Devon, there's always motherfuckers snapping their fingers at people and shit. And I've kicked out multiple people out of the restaurant. They started being disrespectful or snapping their fingers. I don't fucking deal with that shit at all.
Oh, so that's like the chogyo of their culture, I'm guessing. It's like, so what Koreans just scream in a Korean restaurant and they just say, they're basically just saying, excuse me, but they're like saying it really loud. So,
dude, I had the wildest thing happen to me last weekend where it was like this two-top, this woman, they like send me wine and I'm just like, I only do Coach House solo, right? So like, it's just me banging out 8 courses at the time. I'm staging everything, cooking everything off the 2 induction burners and like a Nova oven. Wow. And so it's fast paced. When you have 2 full seatings, I'm like in it, busy. I'm not trying to hang out, drink or anything like that. And so they send me a glass of wine. I said, thank you. And I went there and I said, thank you. And then came back. They sent me a glass of champagne. I didn't even drink it. Then I realized the champagne glass was gone. And then dinner's over. Everybody loved the food. And like, you know, basically Karen, she comes up to me. Can I have a word with you? And I'm like, sure. I was like, what's up? And I'm like setting my first course up for the next one. And she's like, you don't even drink the champagne we sent you. How dare you? Like, you're so fake.
Oh my God.
And I'm like looking at her. I'm like, excuse me? And I'm like, and I'm like, still, you know, I'm like, don't lose it. Right. This is your, you know, you can't fucking, you know, whatever. Yeah. But I was like, ma'am, I apologize. You feel that way. But, you know, you're not the only table in this room. Yeah. We have a full room. I have a second seating that's also full. But thank you for that first glass of wine, right? And then she goes, fuck you.
What?
To my face, right?
Oh, we got to blast this girl out.
And,
we gotta
what is her name?
Yeah.
I'm going to
wait. Address.
Yeah, I'll send it. But
her Yelp account.
Now everyone's like kind of hearing it. And like the best thing about our customers or our guests is that they're having a good time. They know. And most of them are like, what the like, they weren't like, oh, what did he say? They knew she was, you know. Yeah. In the wrong, but when that came out of her mouth, like I just lost it. Right. You know, like my internal, like somebody just pulled. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I look at her. I was like, "Man, you should get the fuck out of my restaurant." And because I was like, and I just want to reiterate, like, I don't fucking work here. This is my fucking restaurant.
Right. This is my house.
This is my house. Yeah. You're not going to disrespect me or my staff, because she was basically accusing my staff or whatever. And I've never had that happen to me before, but it felt so fucking good. You know? I was just like, yeah, get the fuck out, dude. And they're like, I thought maybe I was like out of line. I was like, man, I'm embarrassed that I let her take me to that point. Right. But my crew was just like, no, dude. It's like, we're behind you 100%. She fucking deserved it, you know? And I was just like, there's so many shitty people like that are out here, and we work too hard in our communities to like build what we have, and they think they can just come in and kind of like, you know,
the world revolves around that.
Yeah, and it's for us, it's all about. I'm sorry, that was a rant. I don't even know.
No,
what the question
was,
good.
Essentially,
just
it's
don't
just hold your. What was that?
I said just don't bring up Yelp, because Tom will go on for a couple 2-3 hours.
We're good on
Fuck
that.
Yelp. Yeah. I mean, people come out and like, hey, did you? I'm like, no, I don't fucking pay $500 to manage my own shit. You know?
So division. What I love about where we're going here is that like I was on Division Street the other day, and it's just a part of Chicago that I haven't like really been exploring much over the last couple of I don't know, like I work, you know, in the restaurant, so I'm always fucking busy, but like seeing like people I love and admire and respect and cooking great food. Like we got Tortello right down there.
We're neighbors. We hang out all the time. Yeah.
You know, Dario is such an incredible person. Awesome. Nate and Ants just moved down the street. And I just went to their friends and family, and it's just cool to see. And then Tony's got his bars literally
Little
across the
Victories,
street.
yeah.
And I just like love that that's become a small little pocket of like all these people I love and admire. And so definitely a great reason for people to go and check it out. And I love it. You have like a pickup window as well.
Yep.
So you could just kind of like order ahead, have it ready. And that kati roll is like,
so good.
It's a flavor bomb.
That's my favorite.
It's so good. I had the chicken.
Yep.
It was good. I did chicken sandwich and a chicken kati roll. But incredible.
Yeah, we have. I mean, I don't know if you guys probably saw the Eater, but we're turning the front into a bar very soon.
Oh,
yeah. So Ty from Arami, Ty Fujirama, you guys know Ty. He's kind of partnering up. Juan Kim's going to be part of it as well.
Oh, cool.
In a certain capacity as well. I'm really excited for that because I love Juan.
Yeah.
But it's going to be called Lilac Tiger, and we're basically kind of reconcepting the front. Not to get away from like anything with Wazwan. It's still our food. Half the menu is still staying. All the greatest, kind of things are staying. But we're turning it into basically bringing in like Indian influenced like Scotch and whiskey and Indian rums. And David Moore, who is an up and coming hospitality professional here. He's an amazing dude. Has helped me change Wazwan into just an immense internal structure to kind of like. We all have culture, we all have like that battle to maintain our culture, and so David is very, very talented. He's doing all the beverage cocktails and stuff like that. But essentially we wanted to name it something different because Wazwan is a Muslim tradition that's not linked with alcohol. We don't want to do that, so we're kind of holding off. We're probably going to find more of a family sit down kind of environment for it.
Cool.
Just because we have so many people coming from the burbs and the front is meant to be a bar,
Yeah.
And so we're kind of doing... yes, I started my birthday yesterday with health inspection, which we passed, thank God.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be kind of going full steam ahead on that. So hopefully, Lilac Tiger will be launching here in by September. Yeah.
You're
Very
busy.
cool.
Busy.
Yeah, man.
Got a lot
Congratulations,
going on.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Good problems to have.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a quick round here. Of,
All right.
Or just we're gonna
Fun questions.
Andy, you wanna lead the way here?
Sure. Are
So
you
just-
ready?
Yeah.
All right. Fun questions.
Deep dish or tavern style?
Tavern style all day. Fuck deep dish.
Wow. Why?
It's just not good, man. It's too much. That's probably because I'm an immigrant here, but like it's just too much. I remember eating it. I was just like, this is a fucking pie,
Yeah.
I mean,
they do call it a pie. And I'm from Chicago, so I'm going to defend.
Yeah, I'm talking. No. I'm saying like it's more of like a fucking pie, not a pizza pie. You know what I mean? It's just like a cheese pie. But
how do you like your hot dog?
um,
Or you don't eat
no ketchup.
I'll be frank.
yeah,
obviously.
no ketchup.
No ketchup.
Yeah, I like it
Chicago
Chicago
roll.
style.
Yeah.
Chicago
okay.
style.
Cool.
So there's a prohibition style, and there's a.
What's the prohibition style?
It's just mustard, onions, pepper, and celery salt
Yeah, I would love that.
versus the tomato
The
pickle.
relish and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I love a Chicago dog.
Yeah, Red Hot Ranch. That's
Red
what they do over there.
Oh, I thought you were asking me the question with the Red Hot Ranch or somebody else. I would be like, Red Hot Ranch till I die, bro.
Ask for permission or for forgiveness.
Neither. Wait, what do you mean?
Don't ask. He's like,
Don't ask.
Wait,
I don't
who are
ask.
we asking?
So like when you're
Do I ask for
making
permission?
a decision, do you ask for permission or ask
No.
for forgiveness?
I don't ask anybody anything. I just make the decision.
Beautiful. Gangster. Comfortable or interesting?
Yeah. Interesting.
That's from one of our servers here.
Oh, cool.
He asked us one day. We were just chilling in the back. And it was a great question. It's like, do you make choices in your life to be more comfortable or to be more interesting?
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, shout out to Nick. What's a great show or movie that you've seen recently?
Great show or movie that I've seen recently. Oh man. Shoot. I don't know, man. I work. I don't really watch a lot of TV. But shit.
You seen Oppenheimer?
Oh, I need to see it. That's on my list for sure. I'm trying to think
That's
of a
a
show
goodie.
that I was watching recently that was pretty dope. I'm just blanking on it.
What's it about?
It was the freaking. It's like, I mean, of course, what is it? Last of Us, bro. I love Last of Us. Yeah. Last of Us, probably one of my favorite shows.
Awesome.
But I think there's another one called like OA or AI, something like where it's basically post-apocalyptic. Everything's falling apart, and it's like in a different dimension.
Oh,
shit.
I think
you know what I'm talking
was
about?
it on Netflix?
Yeah, it was on Netflix.
I think I saw
Blonde
that.
girl. It's pretty cool. They're in like an airport the whole time.
Is that Station 11? Is that what
Station 11.
There you go.
Thank you. That's it. Yeah, Station
City
11 was
Rock.
cool.
Our old restaurant in the Thompson Center was in it for like a split second.
No way. Very cool.
Do you have a favorite under $15 to $20 restaurant here in Chicago?
I'd say my favorite restaurant in Chicago when I'm not working or doing anything like that, it's got to be JJ Thai. JJ Thai is my favorite, and then Dong Bo Impression on Chinatown. It's only to go right now. Sichuan food.
Oh,
And it's like a freaking grandma and a dude, bro. And
awesome.
These guys are just, I think they're part of Chengdu, but they're not like, you know,
Oh,
they don't seat at all, even though they can, because they're just like crushing it. But
I'll take
their
out.
food is nuts. There's like the, you know, say if you were flying in from out of town and you land, where do you order food from?
Oof.
Like, what is your
mean-
welcome back? Like, I'm in Chicago, I need to eat. And like that first, like, you know, what is that?
Depends on what time it is, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, really quick. Just curious. Did you park in the lot in the back?
I did.
Can we get? Is it a stick shift or is it just?
No, it's
automatic?
just, yeah.
Can one of us grab? Can Mary? Can you grab the car keys and just move it out of the spot? I think he's in one of our tenants right now, and I can hear them blowing my phone up.
My bad.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry about how.
No, you're good. You're good. We'll take care of it.
It's a black FJ Cruiser, or okay.
It'll
She'll
only
figure it
open
out.
one car.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No.
Do you have a favorite restaurant you take your family to?
We go to. It's the same answer. JJ Thai.
JJ Thai. There it is.
I swear, man, I
It's
love
that
that
good.
place. But A2B is a pretty cool spot. It's like South Indian food out in Warrenville. I think it's called A2B because the A and the B are really long names, and so they just condensed it down to that. But yeah, it's all like dosas and what we talked about. It's like
nice.
vegetarian South Indian food. That's really great too. That's where my family will go for sure.
And then finally, do you have a just favorite restaurant in Chicago? Any price point.
Or if you were balling out, I guess I don't know. Like
I mean,
High end.
like someone's taking care of the bill.
I don't know. I mean, not really, to be honest. I don't know if that's a bad answer. But
No, not
I
at
don't
all.
really have. We try to eat somewhere different every single week.
I love that.
Anytime we can, you know, especially with my kid. My kid loves to eat too.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, like our go-tos are always pretty much the same. Like falafel and grill. Have you ever had that show
Oh,
there?
yeah.
On Milwaukee?
Yeah,
Hell
shawarma
yeah.
was amazing there.
Yeah.
We've eaten their plant.
Yeah, we just love more chill food, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But I would say my favorite is like really is like Dongpo, JJ Thai. Love King Key in Chinatown.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
I
cool.
only eat Asian food, bro.
Really?
I swear.
Hell
I can't.
yeah.
I need some. I can't.
Yeah.
We don't go out to eat like French food or anything like that ever.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the last time I did that.
Yeah.
You know, pasta is always fucking Dario, and you know,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Tortella's amazing. Need to go to Daisy's. I've
You
never
haven't been to
No,
Daisy's?
I've not been to Daisy's.
Bro. It's
amazing,
incredible.
right? Yeah.
Incredible.
Need
It's
to
been
go.
since
Day
Daisy's
they open.
1.0, you know?
Yeah.
It's been so good.
I gotta make it
Joe
out there.
is so fucking, he's not just a great chef, but like as an operator, he's
Yeah.
just like so fucking smart.
Love Entre Sueños. Have you guys had that, Steven Sandoval?
No.
Oh man,
Where's it?
Entre Sueños is a pop up. He was in the Soho House for a while, and then we did a collaboration with him in the Soho House a couple months ago. But then he just opened Diego, which is Diego's like his Baja kind of bar on Ogden and Grand. Amazing.
Oh, what? It's
like
right here.
amazing food,
Yeah.
amazing drinks. Everything's really really dope. He's amazing. Yeah, good guy, really good guy.
We've got a little before we wrap up here, just a little gift from our sponsors here. So we're gonna let you take this home with you.
Awesome, thank you so much.
So the drink is for listeners out there. Should you want to build this recipe at home and have a little fun with it, you can enjoy it with Zubair telepathically, I guess. So this is the cocktail.
Nice, thank you.
It is a saffron highball.
Very cool.
And so the build here is going to be 1.5 ounces of West 32 Barrel Reserve, which is basically a soju, West 32 soju, and then they barrel age it in American oak for 6 months.
Wow.
You can find that in stores. There's a 1/4 ounce of Apolog saffron liqueur, which is giving you that beautiful color. A little 1/2 ounce of lemon, 3/4 ounce of honey syrup, and 2 ounces of some chamomile tea that you can enjoy.
Awesome.
So that'll be served over ice and enjoyed. And just a little touch point. So the Apolog saffron, which is the main ingredient here, giving you all of that color and flavor, features a combination of saffron, cardamom, and coriander. There's a little bit of citrus and earthiness from lemongrass and a few other ingredients. Apolog, which is really cool, located here in Chicago. Started here in Chicago.
Very cool.
They're committed to a certified B Corporation, making a positive impact on society, and all of their whole project is a non-GMO project verified, which means all of their ingredients are non-GMO.
Awesome.
And they're huge on supporting community-based organizations here in Chicago. So a huge shout out to Apolog and Cocatel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we want to wrap up by giving our listeners just some more information on how to follow you, where to see things are going, and the progress that you're making. What are you? What's the easiest way to take a look at?
Yeah, I mean, definitely at Wazwan Chicago is the Instagram. At ZUBAIR MOHAJIR is my Instagram. And then really the most exciting thing happening right now is obviously the Lilac Tiger launch that's coming up. So that's going to be Lilac Tiger Shy on Instagram. But yeah, I mean, we're there 6 days a week. Come through. We have
What day are you closed?
Sunday, Monday right now. But once we open up the front, we're going to be open 6 days, basically only closed on Mondays.
Closed Mondays.
Yeah.
Cool.
But tasting menu just got released for August and September. You know, so tickets are booking fast, but definitely come through.
Where can they reserve?
It's on Talk.
On Talk.
So everything's on Talk. Yeah. So yeah, everything's super accessible there. But yeah, thank you so much.
Of
Appreciate
course.
you guys, man.
Thanks for coming on the show.
course.
Thank you
Ladies
so
and gentlemen,
much, man.
Zubair.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you, dude.
Thank you.